it's because it actually hurts me. It hurts my feelings to know that I used to unironically listen to Ben Shapiro and think that he was smart or even had more than 2 brain cells to rub together. This is from earlier this month. I admit I'm a little late here. That's okay though. Shapiro reacts to the removal of Robert E. Lee statue. Oh, let's find out what he's going to say here.
Iconography of the past in order so that we never have to discuss it ever again. Yeah, I really don't think that the future is going to have a very tough time figuring out why America fell. First of all, I just want to say Shana Tova Tukatu. All of my listeners, that means have a happy and sweet New Year, because the last couple of days I was off thanks to the Jewish New Year, which is a time for reflection. It's a time for thought. It's a time for making new resolutions. It's a time for renewal, in fact. And the good news is that we did that in my community. We spent some time thinking about all of those things. And then the bad news was I came back and I read the news and I realized that the United States is in apparently an irreversible state of decline. That seems to be all the news that is fit to print. And the great indicator of this was the situation that has now arisen over the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue in Virginia. Now, here's the thing. I totally understand why people would want the Robert E. Lee statue removed in Richmond, Virginia. I do. I get it. I understand if you're a black American and you look at a statue of Robert E. Lee, who presided over the Army of the Confederacy, which was an army that was in favor of the remaining, the continuation of slavery. You look at that statue and you say, why exactly are people paying homage to this man? Why exactly would we do that? Isn't
yes,
that
okay. So far I think we're going okay. I'm with you, Ben, actually. I'm agreeing, kind of. Okay.
Vestige of American racism? I get it. I do. I also understand the people who are descended from Southerners who fought in the Civil War, who look at Lee and what they see was a man who presided over the Civil War, yes, but also presided over Reconstruction to the extent that he didn't continue the guerrilla war, right? This was a major issue at the time, is whether Robert E. Lee was actually going to continue to foment the Civil War after his surrender at Appomattox, and he pledged that he would not do so, and he would use all of his efforts to bring the country back together.
Oh, good
There's a
guy.
feeling in the South that he was sort of the...
So after fighting leading the side of the country that was fighting for slavery, he said, you know what? I think we can all get along now. What a good guy.
The romantic figure of gentlemanliness. Some of that image has been obviously tarnished by historians who have now come forth with new details about his life. But Lee was a very human figure in a lot of variegated forms. And what that means that people view him in different ways. So I totally understand the argument to remove Robert E. Lee's statue. I get it.
So for the first 2 minutes, Ben, you're sounding pretty reasonable. I'm kind of vibing with this so far. Okay. All right, Ben. Good for you, man.
I think that there are people who make the argument that Robert E. Lee's statue should come down for the same reason that a George Washington or Abraham Lincoln statue should come down. That's idiotic. And that is a different argument. And herein lies the problem. And the problem is not the pure removal of the Robert E. Lee statue, although my view of this generally is with Condoleezza Rice's view of this, which is that statues generally ought to remain up because they remind us of a past when people were, in fact, held in high esteem despite having really, really bad views and fighting for really bad things. And so that provides you a jumping off point for discussion of these issues.
So we don't need a statue for a jumping off point for these issues or whatever. Second of all, I'd like to show this chart to clearly indicate, you can see here how schools, monuments, and other sites, including monuments, the blue is monuments on courthouse grounds, you can see how there is a strong correlation with the uptick of Confederate monuments with certain civil rights fights. So we had the Detroit race riots. We saw some spike here. We had the civil rights movement. You saw some spike here. You can see here how a lot of these Confederate statues, it's not about preserving history. These were put up as a direct middle finger to black people and to the rest of America as a way of them saying, fuck it, we still think blacks are subhuman. That's what this means. That's what these statues mean. And like I said, they directly correlate with that thinking. So why do you need to be reminded of a past where people with bad ideas were held to high esteem? This is what I like. Just ask these people, like, Do we need a statue of Hitler to, like, remember Hitler? Do we need a statue of Hitler to, like, have a jumping off point to make on moral? I don't know. It just, sheesh, it doesn't make sense.
What was going on?
I think these statues should be taken the fuck down and put in a museum. Yeah, I don't think we need a statue on your everyday life walking past the park and there's, oh, the big statue of the man who fought to keep me in chains. How lovely. Come here, Sparky. Let's throw the ball. Like, no.
In America in 1858. Right? Why did people think in 1890 it was worthwhile to build this statue of Robert E. Lee, this gigantic 21-foot statue of Robert E. Lee? Right? All of those things are good for the discussion.
I thought it was in 1920. One, even if they liked Robert E. Lee for a different reason, it doesn't matter. He is known historically now as the man who fought for slavery. He fought on the Southern side. Everybody knows this. And you can talk about how he was actually a good little boy who decided not to break into guerrilla gangs afterwards. Second of all, like we just showed with that chart, the majority of these Confederate monuments were put up with direct intent as a fuck you to black people and a fuck you to America and to the values that America stands for. We don't need to ask this question, Ben. He's asking it more as a rhetorical thing, but he doesn't want to give you the answer because he has more of a right-wing agenda to push. But yeah, that is the answer.
The American body politic and American history. It's kind of funny that in a time when we are told that we have to review American history and we have to rethink American history, there's a simultaneous attempt to remove all the iconography of the past in order so that we never have to discuss it ever again.
Okay, stop. We're not removing all of the iconography of the past. What do you mean? We're removing one statue for a very specific reason. This is the typical thing. Just ask them, do we need a statue of Hitler? We all know who Adolf Hitler is. We all know how fucking bad he was. We don't have a statue honoring Adolf Hitler. We don't have a statue that was originally put up by Nazis to say, fuck you, America.
So my view is that the statue should remain, and we should discuss the statue in all of its complexity and all of its nuance.
So we can, again, explain and discuss the nuances of history without having a statue honoring bad parts of history. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Okay, however, that's really not my issue here. My issue is what we replace things with, what we replace American history with, what we replace that discussion with. And what we have decided to replace the discussion of American history with, what we have decided to replace our own history with, is a perverse, simplified wokeness that does spell the end of America in pretty much all of its forms. Not the...
Okay, wow. So, I'm not really not really too opposed to removing the statue. I kind of understand why that would happen. It kind of really makes sense. I really sympathize with the MSNBC opinion on this one. And honestly, it really makes sense. There's a lot of facts and logic there. But honestly, I'm more concerned about what we're going to be replacing history with. And honestly, when we think about it, it makes very clear that America is headed for its doom. It's headed in its downfall. It's going in the tomb. The boulder's being rolled over the hole. America's going to be down there for over 3 days and 3 nights, okay? America's headed for its fucking demise. But overall, I'm really not that big of a deal. It's not really that big of a problem that they removed the Robert E. Lee statue. Like, holy shit, dude.
Getting rid of the Robert E. Lee statue per se, but what we are replacing it with.
How are we replacing it with perverse wokeness? So I already know he's going to talk about the time capsule thing, and it does have some more progressive undertones for sure there, but we'll get to that in a second.
And what I mean here is that there was a time capsule that was buried under the Robert E. Lee statue, in the base of the statue. We are now replacing it. Okay, this is the part that's kind of astonishing. And also, the imagery that was associated with the removal of the Robert E. Lee statue. Right? If you're going to remove the iconography of the past, it should be done in a sort of, I would say, solemn fashion.
Why?
It should be done very seriously.
Why?
Instead, the Robert E. Lee statue was removed to the wild celebration of a crowd below, as though they were toppling a statue of Saddam Hussein or something. Robert E. Lee does not preside over the country, nor did he...
Why does that matter? They weren't solemn. It should be like a funeral for the statue. Facts and logic suggest that you should have a somber organ playing music, while we all hold our hands to our hearts, perhaps wave a Confederate flag. What do you mean? This statue has been at the heart of controversy, especially since the George Floyd and the BLM shit last year. It's been covered in graffiti multiple times by activists. People are happy to see it coming down. What? Because it wasn't the type of ceremony you would have liked, that means it's bad? Okay. What the fuck?
Or something. Robert E. Lee does not preside over the country, nor did he ever preside over the country per
Good
se.
thing.
He was the general of the Confederacy. The Confederacy was defeated between 1861 and 1860.
Good thing his side didn't preside over the country. All right, who knows? Ben, you might not even be here. You may have been kept out for being too swarthy back then. Who fucking knows?
And you saw one of the people who was taking this thing down, who'd been tasked with taking this down, putting up the Black Lives Matter fist as this was taken down. Now, you can say that...
Oh, no. Someone who's in favor of fighting for racial equality is happy that you're removing a statue of a Confederate soldier that fought for slavery? What is this woke, perverse world we're headed towards? Facts and logic heavily suggest that America is soon going to be detonated from within.
That maybe the statue should be taken down, but replacing it with the ideology of Black Lives Matter, which is that America is invariably racist. Not only conflicts with the actual imagery.
America is not always racist. That's not what BLM talks about. BLM talks a lot about systemic inequalities. There are some institutions in America, and you're going to find some people that argue that there's more racism in everyday life than others. Sure, that's a conversation to be had, but no. Generally speaking, when we're talking about Black Lives Matter, we are merely discussing fighting for racial equality, specifically when it comes to in the criminal justice system. That's why oftentimes you see the BLM movement flare up when it's police killings. It's the state killing black people. That is the problem there. That's what they're protesting. It's indicative of a systemic underlying issue. That's what they're protesting. So no, Black Lives Matter does not mean America is racist in every single form of the matter, every time, all day, every day. No, that's not what Black Lives Matter believes. Again, it makes perfect sense that someone who would be in favor of Black Lives Matter and racial equality would also be in favor of removing a Confederate statue. Like, this makes sense to me.
Which is a black man taking down a statue of a Confederate general, which does not bespeak the white supremacy of the United States in 2021. But also...
see, so there you go. He has to make this straw man up so that he can then make it look like he got a dunk, right? So if America's racist in every single way, invariably, well, then look how funny it is because a black guy's taking down the statue. Clearly it proves America's not always racist. Got him! According to my facts and logic, hypothetically speaking, libtards have been officially wrecked. That's literally what he was doing. He was made this so that he could then defeat the... So, Ben, let me try to break this down for you, okay? Because I know he probably knows this, but he just, like a lot of conservative commentators, they are intentionally obtuse because usual, average, everyday conservatives are painfully stupid. So they know they kind of have to dumb down their rhetoric to appeal to these brain-dead morons that actually watch this and take anything he says seriously. We can have progress made in America, okay? So, for example, America's done pretty good. Considering there was once slavery, and now there's not, that's progress. Bravo. That's good. But just if we have made great achievements, doesn't mean that we're just done all of a sudden. Like, there could have been people like you just as easily that would have said, back when they were fighting against Jim Crow and segregation, well, it's a hell of a lot better than slavery. You're doing way better, right? Come on, you've made progress. Just be content.
But also, Black Lives Matter is pushed and based on a lie. The lie that black Americans are immutably stricken by the American systems of power. That it's the same sort of rationale as critical race theory, Black Lives Matter.
Oh, of course, we gotta bring critical race theory in. See, again, the conservatives, like I said, they're dumb. They're not really listening. They're kind of just like, they space out. They start thinking like, trans people are gross. Yeah, fuck. Black people are kind of weird, aren't they? Haha, lol. Critical race theory. Zzz, they hone back in. Oh, wow, yeah, Ben, reckon those libs. Haha. Speaking of libs, brown people are really good. And then it's just back off and kind of into their head. He's kind of got to preach up those buzzwords there. Keep the conservatives interested,
Generally, you put vestiges of what you think are the most important objects of the day, and you bury them. And then in 100 years, the cool thing about a time capsule is you open it up, and you have all the artifacts from 120 years ago, 130 years ago, and you can see what was important to people at the time.
Okay.
What we replaced the objects in the time capsule with, underneath the Robert E. Lee statue, says everything about this. Future archaeologists are going to have zero problems whatsoever understanding the decline and fall of the United States. They're going to look at...
Is he just like being hyperbolic here, or is he actually serious? What was in the time capsule? Some of the items include a photo of a black ballerina taken by a local Richmond photographer in front of the statue, Kent cloth worn at the 400th commemoration of 1619. Wait. Is this 1619 project? Or is this actually like the year? A Black Lives Matter sticker. Okay. Stop Asian hate flyers. Okay. An LGBTQ pride pin. Okay. And a vial of Pfizer's COVID vaccine. So, okay. Sure, some of this sounds a little silly. I can agree with that. But you kind of already defeated your own argument, right, Ben? Like, you literally said it's for the, like, what was important to people at the time. Right now, like it or not, buddy, Black Lives Matter, racial inequality, racial justice, pretty important thing to a lot of Americans. Whether you're in favor of it or against it, pretty damn important thing right now. Also, keep in mind, it's not supposed to represent the entire American culture. It's to represent Virginia, specifically. So, Black Lives Matter, racial equality, pretty important. COVID, huge significance to this century. I don't know what the problem is with this. Stop Asian hate flyers. Yeah, what's wrong with this? An LGBTQ pride pin. I mean, some of this is kind of like virtue signally sounding. But still, it's like this is something that's important to people. We have made progress in these aspects. And considering the fact that you're removing a statue that was up there honoring a fucking guy that fought for slavery, it's probably going to be replaced with more progressive stuff. Conservatives, okay? You had your statue up there for the last 133 years, okay? Conservatives had their own fucking little statue with Robert E. Lee. Now it's the progressives' turn. Now it's our turn to have a Black Lives Matter sticker and an LGBTQ pride pin put in this time capsule, all right?
Here is the actual story behind the story. So they got rid of the Robert E. Lee statue, and then they took away the artifacts that were inside this time capsule that had been placed in the pedestal of the monument on October 27th, 1887.
Okay.
They said that the objects in the old capsule were believed to have ties to the Confederacy. Ralph Northam, the governor, who also apparently had ties to the Confederacy, considering he was either wearing blackface or a KKK outfit in his medical yearbook, he says this monument is time capsule.
Gotta admit, that was kind of funny. Yeah, good one, Ben.
So reflected Virginia in 1890.
Fresh out of clown school.
And it's time to remove both, so our public spaces better reflect who we are as a people in 2021. Now, here we go. What exactly was in the new time capsule?
Uh-oh.
Right? What did they decide that they were going to place?
What's our downfall? What's America's downfall?
Capsule? This is supposed to, signify what America is all about. What is it?
Not America. It's really supposed to be focusing on Virginia.
So here's what they put in there. They put in there a Black Lives Matter sticker.
Oh!
Which is, again, signification of a movement that suggests that America is irredeemably racist.
Wrong.
They took down a Robert E. Lee statue because America is irredeemably racist. They have writing a new history kente cloth.
Very virtue signaling sounding. Yeah, it sounds virtue signaling, maybe. That's the best you got? It's virtue signaling? Then that's the argument Ben should be making here. Ben Shapiro shouldn't be going, this is the decline of America like Rome, because Black Lives Matter sticker? That statue doesn't belong to conservatives. Well, not anymore, I guess. But the conservatives had their statue up there. Now it's the progressives' turn to have their little BLM stickers up, okay?
Worn by the commissioners of the congressionally chartered 400 Years of African American History Commission and Ghanaian emissaries that participated in the 400th commemoration of 1619.
even so, you don't need to like agree with the 1619 Project on everything. Like I don't. I know it has some like historical inaccuracies to recognize that like slavery did begin at an earlier point in American history before the transatlantic slave trade as well. So, I don't know. It's kind of a stretch to be like, this is honoring the 1619 Project.
Again, is a designation that America is rooted in evil and can never be extricated from that evil,
Yep.
and all of its institutions are shot through with that evil. We have a Virginia is for Lovers pride pin and sticker, which is great. So we have a pride pin signifying our love and celebration of alternative sexual proclivities and behaviors. Not of the family. No, not like a signification of the family, but like a pride pin.
What? Ah, yes, if only they put a sticker there that showed a man and a woman holding hands. Or maybe just a sticker with the fucking, like, a penis and a vagina, and then a baby coming out. I don't know. Is that what you want, Ben? What do you mean, dude? Honoring sexual deviations. All right, buddy.
We have also the Virginia Ratify ERA, Equal Rights Amendment sash, and the Equal Rights Amendment 2020 pins. So that's very important, right? So we have an Equal Rights Amendment sash and pins for a constitutional amendment that is not actually adopted, and that suggests that there are no differences between men and women in law. We have a First Lady face mask submitted by First Lady Pamela Northam. So it's her own face mask that goes in the time capsule. It's important future generations know that we were insane and that we face masked, presumably until the end of the American Republic. We have photos and flyers from Stop Asian Hate protests in May 2021 in the Virginia time capsule. Now, so far, have you heard anything to celebrate America? Like a single thing in this time capsule that says that America is good or that our fundamental institutions are good? Nope.
Is there anything that says our fundamental institutions are bad? Well, I guess if you're a brain dead, idiot, then you probably think that's what BLM thinks. But other than that, Stop Asian Hate. That's kind of goes directly in line with the COVID vial, right?
Zero things. None. The only thing that really has to do with the institutions of Virginia, per se, is a photo of the Virginia State Police at 14th Street and F Street Northwest in Washington, helping Washington Metro Police Department patrol the city for unrest after the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Right, so we have a commemoration of January 6th.
No, that's not a... Oh, listen how he does that. January 6th. No. If that sounds to me like something honoring police who were brave. They have a Black Lives Matter thing in there, which is oftentimes adversarial with police, sure. And then they also have something honoring police. How do you look at this and still... Well, that's right. He has to make it sound bad because that's how you get the conservatives really mad, and that's why that's when they subscribe and then pay you.
Which is really important so people understand that the real threat to the United States was a bunch of droogs who ran into the Capitol building. We have an expired vial of the COVID-19 Pfizer vaccine and the CDC vaccination record card.
Okay.
So if you think that America has always been rooted in a creed, that America has a civic religion, and typically that civic religion is embodied by the Declaration of Independence, the American flag, apple pie, motherhood, all of that. We've now replaced this with the pride flag pin, a Kente cloth for 1619.
Motherhood, apple pie? That's America's civic religion. Does he just like mesh words together to sound good? I know when you have a conservative audience, again, that's like half drunk out on the front porch of their trailer, it's really easy to get away with that. But like, what is he saying right now?
The pseudo-pagan worship of scientific materialism via a COVID-19 vaccine vial and a face mask for the First Lady. Yeah,
what? This just sounds like fucking anti-intellectualism. Paganism, worship of science? What? Ben, shut the fuck up. All right, this is proof that he is literally just mushing words together.
I think that the future is going to have a very tough time figuring out exactly why America fell. I feel like this one's going to be real easy for us. And here's the thing. As America collapses within and America collapses without, the story is that we are basically just going to eat ourselves to death. We're now the plot of Wall-E. Right? The best hope for the United States, according to the Democrats and according to Joe Biden, is that as we rip ourselves apart, as we lose all centralizing principle, as we collapse on the foreign front, as we do all of those things, at the very least, what we can do is park our asses in a recliner and just eat a bunch of fatty foods until we die. And the government will pay for all of that. Unless you're unvaccinated, in which case die on your own. But otherwise, the government will pay for all of these things. I hope you enjoyed that.
What? What did he even start Did he forget what he was talking about? So, America's gonna fall because we buried a Black Lives Matter sticker in a time capsule, and we're all gonna become like Wall-E and get really fat. Okay, Ben, I feel like if you had just thrown in critical race theory one more time, it would have convinced me, but I'm sorry, dude, didn't work. Wow, that was a dumb fuck video. I get a little aggressive watching this shit because not only do I want to Roblox myself every time I watch Ben Shapiro, it's because it actually hurts me. It hurts my feelings to know that I used to unironically listen to Ben Shapiro and think that he was smart or even had more than 2 brain cells to rub together. It's genuinely disturbing to me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.